rest assured, Marty. I got you. Rest assured, God, you'll I really don't like this video.
Recording in progress.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. Today is January 22nd, our delayed city council meeting from the second Monday of the month. I appreciate everyone's patience on this. Let's call to order and everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that, Amanda, will you take roll call?
Councilmember Rounds.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Burke.
Here.
Councilmember Dowdy.
Here.
Councilmember Hall.
Here.
Councilmember Freimark.
Here.
Councilmember Houston.
Here.
All right, let's roll into citizens' communication. Items not on the agenda. First person, Ed. Coming on up, sir.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. Hey, I have a question. On the Belmont Loop RV Park, I don't remember the name of it. What is the restriction on how long people can stay in there?
Maximum 90 days.
90 days.
90 days.
Okay, well, with that 90 days, what does the city or whatever governing body have to ensure that that happens? I mean, I've heard one rumor say that, I've heard one person speak that they can pull out, go around the block and come back in and stay more. And I don't know that we have a mechanism to make sure that they're playing properly. What I don't want, and I suppose nobody wants, I don't want that RV park to turn into a place like the one upriver by the golf course. You know, understand their need to make money and be a business, but I thought that one of the, like you said, I thought the restrictions were 90 days. What mechanism do we have to make sure they do that? And we may not have one. Thank you.
Okay, I will reach back out to you, just sort of like we did last city council meeting as people came up. If there was issues, questions, I will certainly get back to you on that one and let you know what our
Yep.
response is.
Thank you.
No, thank you, sir. George Tyndall.
I've come to these city council, well, good evening, everybody. Okay. I've come to these city council meetings for, I don't know how long now. And I've tried to figure out how to talk and how to say things, or whether I even wanted to. Because apparently there's a lot of people not listening to people. Online, when you see the welcome to Woodland chat thing, you got all sorts of people fighting and arguing. And it just doesn't seem like anybody's working together. Now, I know that they want money for the city. They want money, kids want money for the levy, all right? But you want it without raising the cost of everything. Well, that can be achieved. But years ago, see, I've been doing, for the last 5 years, I've been doing some research. And years ago, when these towns were funded and the dams were put in 1931 and 1938, somebody messed up. Now, I could go into it and it would take a long time. I have a website on YouTube. It has to do with meteors and meteorites. And the meteors, they actually do exist. Everybody's educated a certain way, and nobody goes back and nobody's checked something, when somebody says something, well, it's this way, and that's the way it is. Well, that's totally wrong, because people are human and they make errors. Now, as far as the river water goes, why is there such a problem with it? Why is there uranium in it? Why is there chromium in it? Why does it have to be treated so much? Because it's full of metal and metal alloys. And people continue to just treat it and drink it rather than fix the problem. And if a person wants to know what metals and metal alloys do to water, you have to look this stuff up online and you have to study it. Now, how can I prove that? Okay? Do I have permission to approach?
Absolutely. As long as we're respectful with one another, I'm all good, sir.
All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help out. I've been trying to help out. Everybody thinks I'm stupid because I look at it from a different perspective. I look at it from the perspective that the impossible can happen. If you don't look at it that way, you don't find this stuff. Now, you see it? Okay, you see the pattern, but when you turn it at an angle, it's silver, it's metal, okay? This is metal, okay? That's the same piece, different angle. Now, what is this stuff, and why does it shine like it does? Why does it shine like glass? Okay, I just cut this piece in half. All I did is put oil or water on these. Now, why does it shine like that? Because a lot of people don't know what amorphous metals are, which is metallic glass. And you have to look it up online. And there's a bunch of it. There's a bunch of it. This is the same thing. But I can put oil on this and make it shine right up. Everybody here, your city water and everything, you drink metal, is what you do. Okay, now why do people not live past 100? Because the metal causes Alzheimer's and cancers and things like that. And this is stuff that people need to look up. If you really care about the environment and everything, you really need to look it up. Now, metallic glass's metal property is a little bit different. Okay? You can see the magnet stick. Well, will the magnet support it? Okay? It's because when metallic glass is manufactured, it has the magnetism in it is affected. It's weaker with the magnetism. That's just one of the things. Now, people want to know why we're having so many problems and so many fires and everything.
Hey, George, can I have you go
yeah.
back to the mic? Just that way other people online can hear you as well.
Okay.
Nope, it's all good.
Now, if everybody wants to know why we have so many fires and everything, from 1890 to 1980, 89% of the old growth sequoia was logged off. The ones that are 900 years old, one log per truckload. The sequoia, the bark, has a hard time burning. That's why they lived as long as they did, 800-900 years, because they didn't catch fire. Now, everybody's logged all that off, and what have they done? Replaced it with? A lot of people are replacing with Doug fir. Doug fir burns. And the fire, and you watch it on TV, the fire will go from one tree to the next. It doesn't with sequoias. I could light a fire on that line of sequoia trees at the bottom of Scow's nursery, and it would not burn. The branches are up higher on them, and they curve upward too. But there's a lot of things that people have to take into effect, but and account and everything. But years ago, when people were researching this stuff and everything, they didn't know how to look for it. And I don't know how much exactly of the land was covered by water from the Columbia and the Lewis River before the dams were put in. And it has to do, my research has to do with the 1833 meteor shower. They actually did hit the ground, and they did hit in this area. And I can prove it, but the people that are taught, they don't want to believe. They don't even want to take a chance and listen to anything that I'm saying. But you can go out there and you can find this metal in the Lewis River, in the creeks, Johnson Creek. But if everybody wants to keep just on the way it is, that's the way it is. And if everybody wants to know why we're having such a problem with meteors getting through and stuff, it's the rocket fuel that's being burned in the mesosphere, but nobody wants to research that and what it does. Now, why did the 1833 meteor shower happen and the way the things did? Is because the amount of meteor smoke, which is plasma, that was burned in the mesosphere, it altered things, temperatures, pressures, changes of things, and you have what you have. But like I said, people got to be willing to want to open their mind and look for things. And a lot of the people that I've talked to, they don't. They want to keep doing things the wrong way. So for some people, it's about money. It's all about money. Everything's just become about money. If we're doing it the wrong way and it's about money and I'm making money, well, I'm not going to shake the boat because I'm making money. So we continue to do things the wrong way. And a lot of things are being done the wrong way and they're being taught the wrong way. But like I said, no one wants to listen. I can't get anybody to listen. I've called people, talked to the DNR, people, the fish place, whatever they call that, Fish and Wildlife. You go over there and try to tell them there's a problem with the water, and they go, oh, well, it's not our problem. I go, well, wildlife drink from the water, people drink from the water, it's not your problem. And this is the problem that I have. But I've called the Department of Mining, I've called all sorts of places, Bureau of Land Management. Nobody gets back to you, or they just blow you off.
Okay.
But I'm trying to make people aware that the problem is there. And if you want to look up how much metallic glass actually sells for and how much it costs to manufacture, like I said, if my findings are correct, there's billions of dollars worth of that stuff sitting in this area. And it sits on top of the ground, but everybody wants to dig to the center of the earth. Now, my last point that I'll bring across is, how do I know that I'm on the right track? They say that the metals and minerals that come from the volcanic eruptions. Okay, well, how many people in here got rich when all the gold was blowed out of Mount St. Helens? What came out of Mount St. Helens? Wasn't it ash and rock? I didn't see anybody. I didn't see no gold rush. I didn't see a bunch of people get gold and silver and platinum from Mount St. Helens. So I think that teaching right there, I think is probably wrong too. But like I said, you know, people are stuck in their own ways. They don't want to admit they were wrong. And if there's a possibility that they're wrong and you're wrong in one area, everything down the line gets thrown off. And pretty soon everybody's doing everything the wrong way and learning everything the wrong way just because of the money.
All right. Thank you very much.
But on YouTube, I've got like 60-some different videos now. I'm the messenger on YouTube. I got 60-some different videos, and I explain this stuff because nobody wants to sit for 2 hours and watch somebody on YouTube.
Send me an email with the link to my City of Woodland email address, and I will be happy to watch the video.
Okay, well, what's your link?
It is. You want me to write it down on a piece of paper for you? I'd be happy to write it down. Here you go, sir. Excellent. Thank you.
And anybody is welcome, if they want to learn and they want to know why the water is so crappy the way it is, they're welcome to look at my website.
What's it called?
I'm the messenger, and it's on meteors and meteorites, because it has to do with the 1833 meteor storm. It screwed up everything up here. And because experts say that, no, those rocks can't hit the ground. I found 200 up to a 600-pound meteor whole.
Excellent. Thank you,
And
George.
anyways,
Yep.
thank you. Like I said, I've been trying to figure out a way what to do. I don't like to get up in front of people and talk. I just want to work and I just want to help. But like I'm saying, if somebody was to check it and figure out that it's there, you're going to have money for your school levies. You'll have plenty of money for the town. The state would probably have a ton of money. But the metal being in the water also affects the salmon. It takes oxygen out of the water from the fishes. And the salmon absorb the metal because they're living in there. So you're eating metal salmon. But like I said, a person has to want to do something about it. They have to want to research. I didn't get this stuff by just looking at the river. I went out there, I got in the river and everything. And if anybody here's been on this river, they know of whitewater mold. That stuff that looks like toilet paper, that's whitewater mold. Okay, and it has to do with the amount of metal that's in there. And the high iron content has to do with the metal that's being in there. But everybody seems to think that the rocks, a lot of them aren't rocks. It's almost 100% metal.
Okay. Hey, thank you, sir. Jennifer Raking?
Take one, pass it down. Good evening. Jennifer Rakeen with the Port of Woodland. I'm here to discuss Ordinance 1469. This ordinance was passed in April 19th, 2021 by the City Council. In the haste, I think, of some of the passing of this, we wanted to talk about this. And I'll back up to explain why I'm talking about this. If you were to look over the warrants and vouchers, you're going to see that there's been continual billing between the City of Woodland and For Your Legal of talking with the Port of Woodland. This is regarding this ordinance. This ordinance was passed to address utility billing. However, at the time it was passed, the title of it was regarding regarding water service rates and regulations. And at the time, April 19th, it actually backdated this ordinance to April 16th. As some people may know that are here and listening online, this led to a lawsuit filed by the Port of Woodland after stalled talks after 6 months of trying to coordinate the billing. What happened is under this section, and there's multiple sections that were edited during this process, and one impacted property owners and those who have tenants, whether you were commercial, industrial, residential, whether you had duplexes, multiplex, or a single home that you were renting out. And though the one thing that was changed is if your tenant did not pay, the landowner was still liable for those unpaid bills. However, many of us, including the Port of Woodland, had contracts in place, and that put us in a sticky situation of going against contracts. And so that is what led to this lawsuit. In the last approximately year, we've been negotiating with your attorneys, Frank Randolph, and
When you say contracts, there are contracts that the port has with
with
their
our tenants.
Correct. I
Yes.
just wanted to make sure we were clear. Yep.
Yep. And so we've been negotiating with Frank Randolph and Aaron Winkles, who is your attorneys in this matter. As I was communicating the negotiations about this to the commission, they were concerned that the port was actually receiving unfair bias, that we were going to be getting something that current landlords were not going to be getting if they had a single meter. So what we're talking about is all of our buildings that the Port of Woodland leases out have one tenant to 1 meter, much like your single residential. What we're not talking about is your big apartment complexes or anything proposed like that. How could we ask for something different that the community wouldn't be entitled to? So what we felt, and I contacted Mayor Deinhardt and stated that where the commission was coming from and wanted to bring this to attention, that we would like to see some revisions to this ordinance 1469 to take a little thought, make some revisions to it that would be accountable to our situation, not just the port, but for single meter tenants. So in looking at our neighbors, because we always like to steal what we don't have, right? What I gave you was the city of Kalama, closest neighbor. I also have Ridgefields. I looked up Longview. I looked up Kelso. But I felt like Kalama had an interesting process. If you look at the front and back, they have a utility bill agreement between tenant and one for the property owner. What's the great thing about this is that it pre-authorizes by the landlord of what happens when non-payment happens. An immediate action, which is an important thing. You guys don't want to be at risk of taxpayer dollars. We don't want to be at risk of taxpayer dollars. So what this would allow is the city to take an immediate action if non-payment happens, that the tenant agrees to, and the landlord understands what's going on. So what would happen is then, Minol would notify the city, you have non-payment, is it partial payment, full payment to get that water on? You're immediately turning that off until the tenant turns it on. That also allows that they are in violation of their lease, because normal leases all have a stipulation of payment for lease and utilities. And that is an important clarification for when you have to evict somebody. We couldn't do that before. But by having some type of agreement like this, it puts it in place. Because right now, when you guys fill out an application, a property owner fills out an application for the city of Woodland, you have to give social security number, you have to give a TIN if you're a business or a Woodland business license, you have to give employer information, you have to give an email and phone number and photo ID. This is everything you need to take somebody to collections as well. Now what would be nice is, I can't do that. I have to do it for other things, but I can't do it for your utilities. And since we are a secondhand biller of that, we are unable to do that. So that was why we had to do the lawsuit, because it was lending of credit of taxpayer money, putting us at risk, which all of you are residents of the Port District, putting your money at risk. And when you're talking utility bills in tens of thousands of dollars, that's a lot of money. And if somebody's not paying for 30, 60, 90 days, that's a serious amount of money. We don't want to answer to that, and I don't think you do either. So what we propose is something like the city of Kalama has. Now, Ridgefield, you can it's the applicant. It can be turned on and off. In Longview, you have to still pay up in their office. It's applicant. So the city can make some modifications, and I think is the best thing for our community who has tenants and commercial and industrial buildings. So this is what we're asking for you to consider. Thank you.
Anyone want to say anything? I mean, I know some of you
Any
were on
questions?
council when that does, because then I have a few comments if nobody else does, but if somebody who was here previously. Go ahead. So, yes, Jennifer reached out to me and drinking and trying to catch up here as fast as I can on some things. I told her I would look into it, but one of the things I did do in my many calls with Minol is they can do this. Again, I think I said that we probably would need to go back to a workshop or do something to readdress and look at these documents here and see, hey, is there a reason Woodland didn't do that and doesn't want to address it? And the other thing is, how do we, obviously this litigation keeps going and we're spending bills, and how do we, protect the citizens here without spending additional dollars? And so when we get into a little bit later, I'll go through some receivable amount I want to share with you. And so my view here is this is something that probably with a workshop and things we need to address and look at.
And there's one thing to add. Right now, the city of Woodland, or the Port of Woodland, cannot get services. You don't have a government
Right.
application. I'm not giving my social security number, and we don't have a Woodland business license, something that's required on both of those applications.
Yeah. So, again, one of the things I've been working with our employees with and
Yeah.
trying to get the background and all that.
And this is why we have also ceased any further communication or negotiations as while we try to work with you all on trying to get this resolved, but for the community rather than just for the port.
Got a question. So when I lived in City of Vancouver and I had a rental there, same setup. If the tenant didn't pay the bill, I was ultimately responsible for it as the property owner. What's the difference between how they do it to the way we do it?
So this would take an immediate action. So right now, to try to get the shut off notice and everything, so as a government entity, I cannot have a debt. I can't be indebted to you. So I have to pay it. So we are having to front if our businesses, by the time we catch up to our tenants to take them to court and everything, that's, I mean, we just had a tenant in that situation, I mean, a year. That's a lot of risk to the taxpayer. And it's unconstitutional for us to lend the port's credit to a private company.
Yeah.
So in the fact of a tenant, what the biggest issue is that at the time when this was enacted, we have anywhere from 5-year leases, we can go up to 80 years. So when, and if you're a renter, you may have a year. You have a contract. Contracts mean something in this country. And everybody had to begin violating that lease because immediately went right back into that landowner. And if the tenant didn't pay their utilities for a long time, you couldn't hit them. I could not have forced any of my tenants to pay any of those utility bills that had switched into our name. But we received a different compensation under the agreement at the time. We've just had some real heartburn over that since then.
And this form here from Calamity actually puts the landlord on ownership as well.
All within the state of Washington, that's the RCW. What it does is if you're going to collect social security numbers and you're going to collect information on tenants, you can go after collections just like your PUD, your gas company, your phone, your internet. They can all collect on you. Minel doesn't have to do it.
So I think that's the challenge. I think that's like a homeowner, you could put a lien on the property and eventually get paid.
You can still do that.
When they sell the property. So this way you still can do that?
You can still do that, but what you do is you're not risking further utility use. You're immediately, so if you, let's say, you're the city, I'm the tenant, I don't pay my bill, my landlord has signed an agreement, said turn it off with non-payment. You go turn it off. They want to pay, they have to pay all of those fees. The turn off fee, the turn on fee, all the payment
Before the next tenant shows up.
and then it can go into collections with that.
Yeah.
But it gives us as landlords some meat.
So are we not sending notices to homeowners now if they are late? Because that's what happened in the city of Vancouver. If they didn't pay, I got a notice very quickly.
We used to.
Okay.
And you do. And so after a year of good payment, and if you don't have any return checks, you get it back. But what I've seen also in other communities is they charge a tenant deposit as well. So you get the landlord, but you also get the tenant. They get it, you hold that until they're no longer a tenant.
Okay.
So you're making sure you're getting payment. If you're doing a 30-day cycle, that should be able to hold.
I think there's a lot of discussion to have.
Exactly, that's why I said, that's why I said, hey, bring it up here knowing that I'm gonna recommend that we go to a workshop with this, some night. Because I think there's a way to move forward and build this relationship and at the same time save the citizens legal fees.
Well, I just want to thank you for bringing this, because you're not the first person that has brought this recently, not only in this room, but also outside of this. I've heard several thousands, tens of thousands even, that have been hit, for private and for businesses alike, that have been hit by this, and tenants. And so I appreciate you bringing us examples of what other places have done. So I thank you for bringing that to our attention and giving us some ideas on where to go to next. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Meg Freemark?
My name is Meg Frymark, and I represent a nonprofit HOA, Woodland East Homeowners Association. And I'd like to talk tonight a little bit about our recent article in the Columbian. It was front page. I'll just show everybody, which was pretty amazing. Front page news, not positive news for our little city, but news anyway. And I had emailed our mayor and the city council, and I think Travis, I'm not sure, I can't remember, a copy so you could read it. It was pretty, it's created quite a stir of disgust, but not a lot of help for my community. I was hoping I'd hear from somebody from the city, even to say thank you for the article, or that's pretty bad for your community, or anything, but I haven't heard anything. And maybe you're busy, but that equates I don't care. Our community, as this article states, has suffered from rent gouging. Our residents, again, are on a fixed income. The monthly rent increase in March will be $12.50 for a little plot of land that our own homes, that we own personally, sit on. Most cases now, you'll find out that in some of our residents, the $12.50 is just about as much money as they get in their Social Security check. And they're afraid. The majority of my neighbors will be displaced if they can't pay that rent. And every hike in rent lowers our property value of our home. So if we go to sell it, we can't sell it what it was worth last year or the year before. Now we have to take a greater cut. That's actually some of our investment for our future. Now, if our people sell their homes at a fraction of the cost or value, where do they go? Where are they going to go? Well, homelessness actually is a real possibility. Can this city afford that kind of a humanitarian crisis? And our community says, no, I don't think our city can. I don't think that's a good, actually, it's not a plus for our city to be recognized as a city that does nothing when senior citizens and senior disabled and senior veterans are being displaced from their homes. I don't think we need that reputation. Right now, my community is for sale by the Warners, the people that own the RV InStyle on Loop Road, the RV park that this gentleman talked about, is selling our community for $33 million. It's assessed for $8 million, I looked it up. They're asking too much, and it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic for my HOA to be considered really a contender in competing, although we have and we are putting in a bid on our property, on our community. Now, the Warners have had a lot of interest in our property. they've had a lot of people put in offers. They've all been rejected. We'll be rejected too for our offer, I'm sure. Other investors have said, actually, what the Warners are doing are criminal. They need the 33 million because they're mortgaged up to the hilt with several liens on each property. What I'm really afraid, but I could see in our future, is our beautiful little city will be seeing more residents evicted. Residents struggling to pay rent. Now the $12.50 is going to be a problem, and certainly they'll be desperate after more rent hikes because they can't pay. And this is not a fictional story. This is reality for us. Certainly, we'll be outpriced and we'll be facing leaving our investment in our forever homes. And I think our city can't afford that kind of a reputation or that burden of senior citizens, senior disability citizens, senior veteran citizens, and seniors on a lower income having this reputation in our little city. I think our city needs to support our community because we're not going to be the only one. Horseshoe Lake has another investor with them, and I've got calls from their residents telling me their problems and seeing how I can help. I just send them the same places I go, the AG's office, the Department of Commerce, Rock Northwest, which can help some people. Now, I asked the city, and I asked this council to think that, where do you think the support came for this city if it wasn't for the senior citizens that have been here for a while? And didn't these senior citizens vote you into office? Some of us did. I know we did, because I talk in my neighborhood. Now, I have a suggestion, but it's not just my suggestion. I know that Victoria O'Banion from Rock Northwest, and that stands for Resident-Owned Communities Northwest, has written to the City Council recently because we have a copy of your email that was sent. It was sent to the mayor and each of the council members with an idea on how to bring together Rock Northwest and our city and us together in an unusual proposal. And also on a sidebar, you're going to have a workshop tonight on House Bill 1110, and our suggestion may be something that will fit right into place. We urge the City Council, the Mayor and Travis Goddard, to please meet with Ms. O'Banion, who's asked for a meeting, and a developer who has agreed to work with Woodland East and engage in a conversation of either being able to move our homes or sell our homes and move to a community of our own for about the same cost that we can afford to buy a community. It may seem like a bold and new idea, but we're trying to save our future and the dignity as senior citizens, disabled senior citizens, and those seniors who have served this country to live out our remaining years in peace and affordability. In addition, it may very well be your answer to anything, that responsibility that House Bill 1110 is probably going to, ask of the city. So I urge you, please, will you at least sit down at the table with Victoria O'Banion and our developer and hear what they have to say? Because I think it will help us. As I say, it may be a unique idea, and it may not work out. But do you know what? It's better than seeing my friends in my neighborhood having to leave their homes. It's better than seeing my friends evicted when they have health problems, have no place to go. And it certainly is better seeing that we will have a homeless crisis on our hands of senior citizens and the city sitting there and not saying they helped at all. I really hope you'll consider that sit down with Victoria. Thank you.
So let me say, yes, I received your email. I apologize. I read the articles. So my bad. Shame on me. And this is exactly what I asked for, people to hold me accountable. So 100%, no denying there. The email from Victoria, I must have missed it or
I have
skipped
not
it.
gotten one either.
So I apologize. If somebody wants to sit down and have a meeting.
I could
am-
forward it to you.
Okay, you forwarded it to him or you will forward it to me?
I can. I think my husband may have received it.
Okay.
I did not
To-
get one either.
Yeah, so I would love to sit down and have a dialogue and conversation. Anyone that knows, I mean, come into the city hall, I'm there and willing to meet anytime, any place. So my apologies for somehow missing that one there.
Okay, Victoria may be on
She is
Zoom,
online here, that's why I
online
kept
right
pointing to
now.
the screen, sorry.
Right, okay, and I'm sure she could resend that option to sit down with them.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, she may have sent it there and I missed it, deleted it accidentally. I'm not gonna say that she didn't.
Right,
But yours
right.
I do, that was my apology,
Yeah.
so.
But I really ask you to at least do that.
Yep,
I mean, it's
100%.
not gonna hurt sitting down and looking at a different perspective. And also, I just want to say in closing that the governor is spending a lot of money on affordable housing. I'm sure you all saw the little blurb about it. Budgeting over $1 million to build affordable housing. Affordable housing has always been the thing legislators said that was more important than rent stabilization. But now they can't say that. They're getting their affordable housing. And I think the legislation that's coming up now with the House Bill 2114 and its subsequent Senate bill for a percentage that our rent can go up should be considered. And I think that everyone in this room, everybody on the council should look into that and think about how that will help not only seniors, but other people who do budget their money, but $200 a year, a month, having your rent hike, and then seniors being on fixed income, this is a burden. And you're causing a lot of, you're not causing, but the situation is causing a lot of anxiety in the senior community.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I look forward to that email. Again, my apologies. Meg.
I just had a question for Mr. Goddard. This came up in the past, and can you elaborate a little bit more what we talked about briefly? I know it has to do with like private property and the challenges of the property and what we as a city can do.
So the city has regulatory authority regarding the development of land, but how that land is operated once it is developed, the city has no influence over that. So whether it's a mobile home park or single-family residential development, we essentially review it for initial standards. One of the issues that we face, like a lot of communities, and that is an example for you, and that is you rely on me to implement regulations that are 25, 30 years old, made by councils that are long gone, and they establish densities, lot sizes, zoning designations, types of zoning. So those decisions were made by people 30 years ago. And part of the comprehensive planning process is figuring out whether or not that still reflects the community that we're in. So a couple years ago, we did a housing needs assessment. We talked about different types of housing. We analyzed our housing codes as to what potential fixes we could look at to do. And we came up with some proposals, but unfortunately, we didn't end up getting to the point where we adopted any of that. And now we're in the comprehensive planning process. So it might be something that we discuss this year through June of next year, and then deciding whether or not we're going to make changes to the regulations as well. So we're dealing with a lot of that, but unfortunately, it has nothing to do with the operation of housing.
Yeah.
You could, like the city of Minneapolis, they did a rent stabilization policy where the voters voted to, really fix that. Increases.
Your mic.
They did the city of Minneapolis did a rent stabilization policy where they voted, whether to, so they could control, the rents on property, the increases on the rents to where annually they couldn't, go up so high every year. But if you want to read about it, you could, that's a good one to look at.
Part of it is, state of Washington things, and absolutely 100%. So I go back here, Meg, get an email to me from Victoria. I'll make sure Travis is there. I'll sit down. So, again, thank you very much and apologies.
I would love to hear any option. Any option that we could actually look at. If there's options we can do, I'm absolutely for them.
Yep. Keith?
Before I launch into Planners Day stuff, I wanted to say Meg reached out to me and we've talked also, and I'm not a resident of the community there, but I'm on the outside of the community, and I think anything that serves to destabilize our community, that's a real serious issue. And while we might try to work at this and maybe we can't get anything from the AG or whatever, we as a community potentially have the power to get together to do something as a community. And I just want people to acknowledge that potential in the community and all the citizens, because if it's happening there and it's happening at other places, we got to get together on this. And that doesn't mean just the board up here, it means the whole community. Okay, on to better things. There's nobody from Downtown Woodland Revitalization here tonight. I know that you had a discussion with our new president, and so that's kind of ramping up again now. Downtown Woodland, the boundaries are going to expand clear over to Lake and up to the railroad tracks. I'm going to be working on the map of that. And
So Keith, on downtown revitalization, just so you're aware, and everyone gets caught up to speed here since you brought it up. So I had a meeting. They were worried that I was going to kill that whole downtown revitalization. I put to bed that rumor. That is not my view. My view is the city needs to be partners in there. It can't be the city on top of it telling revitalization what they should do. And I said, hey, get a meeting together, call me. I would love to sit down, be part of the discussion.
so yeah, they're working on that.
So I
So
just want
that's
people to
exciting.
get caught up with that conversation where it's like, hey, what was the conversation?
So that's the one exciting thing, Downtown Woodland Revitalization. Planners Days also working on that. We are working on choosing the court, and we actually had more than 5 applicants this year. So we should have a rich group of participants. The tickets have been ordered, thank you. And the art contest ends February 15th. We're going to have our meeting tomorrow at the VFW at 6 p.m. Everybody's invited. Some people aren't able to make it because it's a rescheduled meeting. But please come and join us, find out what's going on. Also, another thing that I'm working on is trying to organize Woodlands neighborhoods and get some neighborhood associations going. So if there are leaders in the neighborhoods, Raspberry Park, and the different areas, if people would get a hold of me, I'd like to facilitate that and help that. It doesn't mean I want to be trying to lead anything. I just want to see more potential from the residents of the city here and getting them together and maybe seeing some stuff that they haven't seen before. Thank you. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else that would like to speak? I have a couple people online if they want to raise their hand. Anyone want to speak about something that is not on the agenda? All right. Moving on then, we'll go to communications for items on the agenda. unless somebody wants to suspend ordinance 1498.
Do we do that with the agenda approval to suspend the?
Yes.
We can do that then
Okay.
too, if you want.
Perfect.
I don't mind.
Okay, can I get somebody to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda with suspension of the communication for items on the agenda and allow time for citizen comments before each action item.
Perfect. Do I have a second? Amanda, you want to take roll? Vote?
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Burke.
No.
Councilmember Dowdy.
Aye.
Councilmember Hall.
Aye.
Councilmember Freimark.
Aye.
Councilmember Houston.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it, so we will move in. The agenda has been approved. Reports of standing committees. HR, Melissa?
Yes. Tonight, we had our HR meeting, the first one of the year. We met with Mr. Goddard and with Mayor Deinhardt and myself and Councilman Hall, and we met at 6 o'clock and we adjourned at 6:46. We discussed Public Works Director position that has now been published in the Reflector and on city website, as well as on Facebook. It will be opened until March 1st, and that will be our first review, and it will stay open until it is filled. It will be republished again in the Reflector in February. The water treatment operator position, Frank Pulaski, that was on our street crew, he has been in a program that we had a grant for to get trained and has passed his level 1 cert in December and is going to take that position and the water treatment operator, and he will be given 6 months to pass his operator 2 test and get all his hours, and believes that he will be able to do so. And so that is great news for that position. We have for the police department, the vacant position for lieutenant, and the newest position that was created in our budget this time around is also vacant at this current time, but all other positions are currently filled. And so there's going to be some meetings going on, and the lieutenant position should be posted pretty soon. And so that's exciting things to be looking forward to. So that was all that we discussed to share with you guys for right now.
Perfect. The only thing I would add on that as we talk about the HR piece, city administrator position, there's seems to be conversation out there, and I'm still reviewing it. I've spent several days down at the city hall. I've worked individually, one-on-one with people. I've had an all-hands employee meeting where I invited everybody, had lunch for them all, doing a little bit of research and just understanding, rather than doing it in a vacuum of saying, hey, this is what Todd thinks, doing it collaboratively and asking, hey, what are the needs and best interests of the community and also the employees down there. So still working on that. Okay. All right. The finance meeting was canceled.
It was canceled today. Next meeting, hopefully, February 20th.
Excellent. Okay, let's move into reports of city council.
Yes, Councilmember Houston and myself did partial tour of the water and sewage plants. We still have to finish our tour with the streets a couple weeks ago before the storm. And that was really awesome to get to see all the operating that was going on, meet a lot of the employees. Tim took us around, and it was a fantastic opportunity for us to see some of the great things that are happening down there. We did get to observe some of the things down at the sewage plant that definitely they're out of room, and some of the bid that's out right now to expand their space is definitely needed. They're having to even eat lunch in their car because there's not even room in the break room for them to eat. And definitely needing some space for some of their equipment that needs kind of to be separated a little bit more. So definitely got to see some of the things that are coming our way, and why there's a need for it. And then we also got to be in a video for to support the levy for the school system. So hope everybody comes out and votes. I think that's something really big for our town, that either way, I think it's important for everybody to come out and vote in February and support our kids. So
I attended the Woodland Chamber of Commerce dinner installation banquet Saturday night. Very nice, very nice. I was surprised that I didn't see other people there from the council or the whatever, so, but.
Mayor. So, just so people are aware, Citizen of the Year was
Aaron Thoney,
Aaron Thoney, thank you. And Employee of the Year was
Stephanie Smith.
Stephanie Smith.
Of Lewis Residential, because there's two Stephanie
Yep.
Smiths
Yeah.
around.
And Business of the Year was the Care Center.
Yes.
So, anyway. Any other items?
I spent my birthday down in front of the Woodland City offices shoveling snow.
Well, happy birthday. All right, let's move to reports of advisory committees. Come on up, Ms. Swire.
did she just give yours?
Thank you, just stole my thunder.
Yes.
Thank you. Carrie Swire, Executive Director of the Chamber. Good evening. Yes, the exciting news was we did have our banquet. There was a few days where that was looking a little, were we going to have it or not? But we did. The Oak Tree hosted a banquet. We took that back room that was, I think, lastly the casino. It's just a gutted out concrete room, and somehow made it livable for the night. We had some musicians. Brandy Lynn and Mandy Cody played for a couple hours while we had dinner and had some cocktails. That was nice. Thank you, Carol, for attending. That was wonderful. We did announce the Business of the Year as Woodland Care Center. They had quite a crowd there, and we're very, very proud of that honor. Aaron Thoney was awarded Citizen of the Year, and Stephanie Smith from Lewis River Dental, and they also had quite a gathering for her. So that was wonderful. We also installed 2 board members. Ross McKay has been filling in for the last couple months as a board member, but he's officially installed now as a board member. And Joy Asmussen resigned at the end of the year as a board member, and so the board voted in Aaron Burnham from Umpqua to fill in her seat for the rest of this year. So those officers were installed. We have some exciting meetings coming up at Chamber. Tomorrow, Jeff Ray, the president of the school board, will be there with consultants Tom Rockefeller and Jada, I think you pronounce it Rupley. But they have been, I believe they've been having some meetings in the community about getting feedback on what the community wants in a new superintendent. And so they took the opportunity to talk to Chamber tomorrow. That should be interesting. And then the following Tuesday, we have David Ripp returning here. He's the CEO of Porta Camas Washougal. February 6th, the Freedom Foundation is coming to speak. And on the 13th, Erica Rodman, Woodland Real Estate. And then on February 20th, someone I've never heard of. It's America in Bloom. Something to look up. It's an interesting organization that really gets into communities through plantings and flowers, and kind of brings communities together a lot with youth, and it's going to be an interesting presentation. So our after hours on February 15th is open, so if there's anyone that would like to open their business for after hours, let me know. Those are always fun. They usually start around 5 o'clock in the evening for an hour or two. And then Lastly, during the snow, we had to cancel last Tuesday's meeting. Bruce Pollock was going to be our speaker he's a PUD commissioner, also manager of Bicoastal Media in Longview, and I will be rescheduling him, but that was going to be a really interesting presentation too. So we have some great meetings coming up. If you would like to get my updates every week and you're not on my list, email me and I can add you to that. There's a lot of information that goes out. I also publish, things from our members that they want the community to know. So I'm happy to do that. But that's it. Yes.
One other thing,
Yes.
legislative phone call.
Oh, thank you, Carol. Yes, legislative phone calls are happening. We'll have our third one tomorrow morning at 7:30. They run through March 5th every Tuesday morning. There's through Zoom, so you can call in or you can Zoom in with a video. But if you'd like to be part of that, also, I'm happy to give you the links.
Where are they at?
Where are they at? They're on Zoom, so you
No, I
can.
said- Oh, Zoom?
Yeah, so you can call in from your house, or Carol and Darlene meet at, well, Darlene opens up the truck line for anyone that wants to join there. But, yep. Tomorrow, we will hear from Representative of Barno. So, anyway, anything else?
Perfect. Nope.
All
I
right.
will ask you to send me the link
Okay.
and also get on the newsletter.
Yes.
It's one of those things that I haven't seen so far, and so my
Okay.
bad for not reaching out.
No, that's
You and
great.
I've met, but
Yes,
at City Hall, but my bad for not getting on the newsletter.
that's fine. I'll get you on there.
Apologies.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. City officers. Let's go with the mayor here for a second. So, a couple things here. I want to use this time here as a way to kind of address and give people in the audience, online, and also my peers up here, understanding of things I've been working on, things that have been going on in the community, things coming up. And so, people want to just sit back. This is a way for me to say, hey, kind of a state of the union over the next month. These are the things that are working on and things. So, first thing is I want to give a shout out to our city employees for the storm. They raised above the bar. They showed up, our employees. The plowing was done out there, the streets, the sidewalks. They showed up when we needed them to. So I think that a big shout out needs to go to our city employees. Sometimes we forget why we're at home, kind of a deal. Schools, I know that Melissa kind of touched on it. The schools, there was a superintendent focus group meeting tonight at 6 p.m. Obviously, we missed that if we were here. Levy information meeting was at 6:30 tonight. But there's another levy information meeting tomorrow night at 6:30 at the Woodland Middle School. Again, people, this is your chance to go ask questions, get involved. The schools, the city, and also the port is one of those things where I want to schedule meetings. I've reached out to Jennifer, reached out to Jeff, and getting those three organizations meeting regularly. These are a large body of, here in the Woodland. And so I urge you all, go get involved, go to that meeting tomorrow night. I will be there. It's a way for us to ask questions and get more information. Okay? Coming up here in the next month, I would like to do a workshop here so people start thinking about things. I think things most at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning when I wake up. I wanted to start having a dialogue conversation with citizens and also council here on real estate. So when you think about real estate going on, these are the things as I've been here on the job now for 22 days. Let me just touch on them just so we can kind of think about things. The food carts at 100 Davidson Street. Okay, that 100 Davidson Street is a building that sits there. We do have 2 food carts that are there. They operate on a special permit kind of a deal. We can get into all that, but we have that building that is there. We have the new Civic Center that is being built that will be there with no tenant. Again, a building that we will have. The old library on Park Street. So when the new library gets open, the old library will be there. That's another 2,000 square feet that we will need to figure out what we want to do. And I'm not here to say we're going to sell anything, or I just want people to start thinking, hey, we have real estate, we need to figure out what we want to do with that.
Maybe homeless issues from the people from Woodland East.
I mean, again, this is why I say let's have a workshop, because I want people in the community to come and think about this. I don't want it to be just in a silo chamber, but as I've gone through thinking about things, there's a building at 566 Garrick Street right there in the park. So as you head down and before you make the corner onto Davidson, chiropractor is there, that building. There, as the owner has reached out to us, there is a kind of a tentative agreement between the prior administration and them to purchase. Again, I have put that one on kind of hold. Yes, it sits there at the park, but that is just more real estate that we would be having here within the city.
Is it Dr. Van Dyke's building?
No.
No.
The acupuncture place,
Acupuncture place.
next to the bathrooms.
Correct. So again, no action, no items to be had here, just for us to be sitting here thinking about in the next 2 months or a month. Also, then I want to go on to utilities here. I know that's near and dear, something for people to think about. So I had Jennifer up here. I didn't have her, but Jennifer was up here and was talking about tenants and things. So I want people to understand what the state of the nature is on our utilities. And when I talk about utilities, I'm talking about water, stormwater, sewer, garbage. So I've met with Midall several times, working through things, different items. Our total receivable balance from the city right now from our residents is $816,000 that we have outstanding. Of the $800,000, there's $300,000 that is current. That means that we have nearly $500,000 of past due payments, or past due balances. And the reason I bring this up, of those balances, 90 days and older, 322,000 of that is from 90 days and older. 168 accounts, so roughly 7% of our meters. I want to have a workshop on this again, because last November, October, council decided that we would start doing late payments, and a late payment is $20 or 10%, whichever is greater. We would start doing shut-offs, we would start doing notifications. We have not done that, but if you think about it, 530 accounts are past due, so that's roughly 24% of the meters out there. We need to think about that long and hard and have a discussion, a workshop of what we want to do, timelines and that type of deal. Continuing on with utilities, just a reminder that there was a 5% increase from November 16th council that was approved. That is in the bills there. Later, we'll have a workshop on a 5% increase on garbage and recycling. That is a pass-through. The city does not make any money on that. That is Waste Management passing that through around 70 cents. But again, I want people aware of that. And then lastly on that, on utilities, with the storm and ice, I made the decision, yes I did, and I want to be very candid and clear. I don't want people to think I did this, without telling. Our water bills are typically read on the 15th of the month. The meter reader comes through, so it could be anywhere from 30 to 31 days. With the ice storm, those meters were not able to be read until today, partly yesterday, which means that we would have 35 and 36 days in this month's billing. That extra 5 or 6 days could put some of our residents into a higher tier. So I've made the decision that we will go and prorate all of the meters to 31 days. So what that means is you take the total usage, divide it by the number of days that we used, and times it by 31, and it gets us down to so it will move some of those people down out of the higher tiers down, and those, we're not shorting ourselves on the bills, but that usage then for the last 5 days will then just go into this current month billing. But I want people to be aware that that is a decision that I made. I think it's the right thing to do for residents because of the storm. any questions on that about utilities on there? Next thing, really quickly, Exit 21, I've met with Kittleson, Kittleson Contracting Consulting. They're putting together a new timeline. Again, last administration was an increase of their $1 million external contract for up to the $2.6 million. That dollars are coming from Cowlitz County Commission. So I really hadn't seen a lot, so I've met with them and they're putting together a new timeline, a whole proposal so that we can start having dialogue here at council and keep our community aware of what's going on with Exit 21. Last thing, marijuana retail sales in Woodland. I want people to be thinking about this. I know there was a vote up here at the council on industrial and on commercial. I reached out to Cowlitz County Elections. We kept hearing 10,000, 20,000, 70,000, yada, yada, yada. And I wanted to have the information here. Again, we can have a workshop later on, but we talk about whether to do a vote, not to do a vote. A standalone vote would be $60,000 to $70,000. The Woodland School District, when they did their election in April, where it was a standalone, it was $76,676.03. I mean, this is the in-depth conversation I had with our elections office. We would pay, the reason it costs the $60,000 to $70,000 if you do it on your own is you put a voter's pamphlet out, you pay for ballots, return postage, rental car, so that you have people going and collecting ballots, the labor for individuals in there. We can get into that, but I just want people to understand the cost there. I told everyone I would be transparent. These are the things I've been working on, these, in addition to, you know, other things, but these are the things I want people to be aware of and come prepared in the next month to see on our workshops. With that, any questions on my message? And go ahead, sir.
Just a clarification on the past due balances. I've heard rumor there's one account that's very much behind. I don't know if you guys can quote how much it is, but I thought it was upwards of like $100,000.
$106,000.
Just on one account.
So I have gone through the aging, and I have every bill there. Again, I'm keeping it confidential, but yes, there are, you know, outstanding. Since we went to Midal, there are 33 meters who have not made a single payment.
Yeah, not to discredit it's a problem, definitely, but just put it in perspective. There's one account that is severely behind, and I think there's liens put on that one, and it's going through the process.
So if you take out of the 500,000, that 100,000, we're still at 400,000.
Yeah.
For our small community. So.
And then the other question I had, which I'm perfectly okay with it, but does council need to approve adjusting the meter reads and everything?
So when I went through the RCW and those and making the bill adjustments, it's not required.
Okay.
So, again, 100%, I appreciate you asking the question.
You're still getting the money later.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So,
You're not giving up.
great question. I appreciate, I should have, you know, said that, yeah, I did that research on that.
Okay.
So,
When you have the workshop, I will be gone the last half of next month, so I won't be here then.
I will be gone the next two council meetings. I flew home from Texas yesterday, flew down there on Saturday, so I could be here the next two. I have a work deal and I have my granddaughter's first birthday party that I won't miss, so. But yes, I mean, so that's why it might be into March, but I just want the community, this is something that we all need to look at together as far as our real estate and what is going on, because we might not have all the answers of what we should do with that real estate and things around. So I want to make sure people start thinking about it. Go ahead, sir.
No, I was saying we need to do a retreat. So could that be in the retreat?
100% we can do a retreat. And like I told you, I'd like to do a retreat March, early April. 100% agree.
Okay.
That account that was over $100,000, are they still receiving utilities, or they pulled that?
Yes, so again, we have not shut anyone's water off. We have not charged any past due payments. Again, council and things have approved. I came in here and I said, well, where are we? And I looked, I mean, I could certainly, since council's approved, I can jump on tomorrow and set out a plan and say, okay, this is how we're gonna start doing our 10%, this is our $20. But I just think that we need to have an understanding of all of the receivables before all of a sudden, boom, 500 meters are there, and it's like, oh, what'd Todd do? So, that's the conversation.
And that one does not get water.
Yeah. From my understanding, it's been shut off for years. I think this is like previous administrations, multiple years back. I don't think this is even 8, 10. I think this is years and years and years of issues.
She knows that.
Come to the podium, please, Maggie.
Hi, I'm Maggie Smith. On your real estate, did you add the old community building?
The red building.
Oh, I did not.
Okay.
Great idea. I skipped right over that, but you're
Okay.
correct. We do have that community building that is still rented out, 100%. Okay?
The library, is that?
No,
community
on Park
center
Street, the little red
next
one
to
by
the
the park.
library.
Yeah.
Well, right next door.
I
And then
thought
the-
somebody said we own the library property too.
Right, that's the 2,000 square feet that we'll have
And we own the
available.
museum too? Don't they own the building where the
No,
museum
they-
sits?
that's owned by
No,
golf.
that's totally private industry. So,
I do have a lot to say, but it's not going to be tonight. But the one thing that I do want to comment on with the food trucks is this was a very big slap in the face to the businesses that are down there, not only to myself, but to all the other people. I went out on a limb. I begged, borrowed, and stole to be able to put my name up on that billboard on the highway. That goes for $10,000 a month. My business doesn't make even close to me having the ability to have that type of funds. I did make it happen. But that was to direct people to my establishment, but also would see everything else we have, which isn't much in downtown. But I will tell you the two things I will comment on tonight is that, one, I don't have the luxury of taking my power and running it over to that building and have my electric paid for by the city. That bothers me so much. There's a lot that is bothersome to me. The other thing that I will highlight is that if this place stays open the way it does, at some point you're all going to have blood on your hands, because I will tell you, I have a business next door. This is a huge parking lot that has a lot of traffic. You have businesses that are right there. What I see going on there, and believe me, I love the Hispanic culture. I always have. I love them. And the main reason that I really love the Hispanic culture is because how family orientated they are and how they take care of each other, because that's how I am with my family. But what is happening is that you're getting people congregating there as a family. You get family coming and working on their cars. You get people just hanging out. It's a dark parking lot. There is a lot of activity. I have a busy business. Other places have busy businesses too. But what bothers me the most about this, guys, is that there is no lighting out there, and I wonder if any of you thought about that, the safety of your community and your children in that parking lot. I went out and bought hundreds of glow sticks. They are in my office right now. Every time I see a kid out on their bike, because now this has become a community in the parking lot, I'm going in to my office, grabbing glow sticks, taking them with duct tape so they don't fall apart, and putting them around these children's necks. It's dangerous. If that's going to continue, which I hope to God it doesn't, because this was a slap in the face to the brick and mortar here in Woodland.
excellent. Thank you. Again, future conversation at a workshop on that. All right? From there, let's go into consent items of the meeting minutes. Do I have a motion on that?
Motion to approve consent items.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Amanda.
A little slow. Hang on. All right, there we go. Councilmember Houston?
Aye.
Councilmember Freimark?
Aye.
Councilmember Hall?
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy?
Aye.
Councilmember Burke?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. Now we'll move into our action items. First action item is our vouchers. The vouchers have been moved to action items again, rather than consent, but again, here we go. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the vouchers.
I'll go ahead and second them.
Before that, sorry, my bad, I apologize. Do I have any comments? Maggie, I believe you were on the agenda for that. Okay? And we do have the actual backup that we will bring here. I mean, not wanting to go through thousands and thousands of voices, but
Okay.
just if there are questions, we can
Okay.
be quick and move through.
Okay, so that's action, that's B. On the voucher for Troico Windows and Door, that has a almost $10,000 of, I guess, windows and doors for the Civic Center. Why isn't it included in the Gulf bid bills?
So,
'Cause that has to
That was
be.
my question.
I can answer that. I had the Koff Construction contract pulled up, and some of the items, building materials and some of those items are paid for outside of that. So, that is an expense that we owe to complete and work on the Civic Center.
So even though they bid this bid, we're still having to pay for
Their
windows?
bid is for a certain set of items, and this falls out of the lumber, the windows, several things fall outside of that $600,000 bid.
But why?
That was the contract. That was the contract that was signed and approved last October, November, I mean.
Well, that's it.
I voted against it.
Ms. Butler.
In light of that information, were the other contractors that bid on it given the same equal, apples to apple, what they were offering? Do you know?
So.
Or was this a special thing for Kolf?
So my friend Carol here was going to talk about the audit that we had
Okay.
that came out clean. So I'm kind of
Okay.
going backwards here a little bit. So we had our audit close out. We don't have a final report yet. It's a preliminary. It came back. There were no financial mistakes, no misstatements in there at all.
Right.
There were a couple improvements, best practices that we could implement. So yes, we'll work at doing those best practices. One of the things that was a takeaway was the Koff Construction with our procurement practices, is that when the original bid was for $900,000, it didn't hit our budget. The $600,000 was negotiated with Koff, and we should have gone back and negotiated with all of the other bidders.
Okay, that
It
was
didn't
okay.
happen, but Koff has done that. Again, right, wrong, or indifferent,
Yeah.
we need to, as a
Okay.
community, move forward. We
Thank
signed
you
a contract.
very much. Thank
So,
you.
And it is an improvement that we'll make. Thank you. Okay. Any other comment on the vouchers? I had a motion and a second. Comments?
I think they should, a lot of the things have miscellaneous by them. It'd just be nice to see what more detail.
Mike?
I think it's on, you just gotta pull it closer.
I was just want to say some of the items all labeled miscellaneous. It'd be nice to see a little better detail of what that was actually for on certain things.
Correct.
Can I
That is one of the process improvements that we're working on doing and getting that visibility. We can't do it
No.
overnight
Yeah, yeah.
here, and so we're trying, making the steps in progress, so I appreciate that comment.
Can I make a
JJ?
comment?
Absolutely.
Yeah, on something like that, if you see something that you don't like, you can go back to the city, yeah. If you see something on there, you can go back to the city, see Gina, and she'll pull it out and show you.
And we actually have those here, that's why they're here. Amanda brought them,
Oh,
as
good.
council approves them. Again,
So we can look.
visibility. Okay, with that, Amanda, do you want to take vote, please?
Councilmember Freimark,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall,
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Houston?
Nay.
Is that a yes or a no?
No.
Councilmember Burke?
I'd say no, too.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Moving to the next action item, authorize the mayor to sign Woodland Police Officers MOU for shift modification and shift bidding for 2024 and beyond. Do I have any public comment, or I can open it up to the chief to give a high level before I look for a motion?
I'd like to hear from the chief.
Okay?
I don't have a microphone down here, so I'll step up. You guys are hogging them. So this will alleviate some of the manpower challenges that we have. We have some officers that are going to go on maternity leave. This allows us a little bit more flexibility. We've also added a shift to, I guess, a modified day shift, starting at 9 a.m. So we have more officers on clock hours. And there's two MOUs that we're asking council to authorize the mayor to sign. And the other MOU is to give us the flexibility to establish what we call a power swing shift, which would, or just a power shift, which would modify the existing shifts to allow us to move an officer into working 2 days with one team and 2 days with another team, rolling into their 4 days off. So it's just a better coverage. It gives us a little bit more flexibility than every time we make we deviate from the existing collective bargaining agreement. It gives us a little bit more flexibility, so we don't have to come to council and ask for permission every time. It's a little bit more streamlining the effort here for manpower challenges. Questions?
And this is okay with the union?
They're the ones that are asking for it.
That's what I thought.
Yes, sir.
Typically with an MOU, I think there's an expiration date on it. Is there an expiration date on this to apply it to the next contract fully?
No, and that's why we're asking for it into the future. So when we get to doing another collective bargaining agreement, those things will roll into that.
Okay.
So that'll be part of the new contract in 27, I think,
Okay.
is when this one expires. Anything else?
So Chief,
Yes, sir.
you're in, were we to understand you're in full agreement with both MOUs? Are you in 100% agreement with it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of times when it comes to asking council's authorization for the mayor to sign them, it's a collaborative effort. So we have a pretty good dialogue with, or I have a pretty good dialogue with the collective bargaining unit when it comes to making these type of decisions, because we want to keep our officers happy, right?
Exactly.
Any questions? Thank you.
Excellent. So do I have a motion?
Motion to
Do we,
approve?
hold on. Did we allow public comment on
Yeah,
this yet?
there was no public comment.
Okay.
Second.
So
So I have a motion by Melissa and a second
Oh,
by
she can have
Ms.
a second.
Carol Rounds. Okay? Melissa?
I looked over this and I was really pleased with the different shifts and how they worked. So I fully support it.
I read it also, and I'm in agreement with it.
Okay. Any other comment on it?
I'm fully for MOUs that both parties can agree on, and it helps both parties.
Absolutely agree. Amanda?
Councilmember Dowdy?
Aye.
Councilmember Hall?
Aye.
Councilmember Burke?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Freimark?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Houston?
Aye.
Okay. With that, we'll go into action item D, authorize selection of professional cleaning service company, CBM Systems LLC, for city facilities cleaning. Any comment on this? So I will let everybody know this is slightly higher than the second bidder because of the professional licensing and things that they've already got done. And this is the reason I kind of moved this one and agree for the $700 for a year, more expensive than the second bidder with the licensing as well, is they're familiar with our building, they're familiar with our facilities, our access. We had to make a shift previously. We moved to this company and they've done a great job. So again, this is a slightly higher $700 than our other. With that, no comment from the audience. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve action item D.
Second.
Ms. Rhodes?
I looked over, and it is a renewal of the contract of the people that have been doing our buildings, and I think that they've done a great job, so I think we ought to go with them.
I think the people who are getting the cleaning done tell us what they want, and if it's within budget, I'm good with it.
Any other comment? With that, Amanda?
Councilmember Burke?
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Hall?
Aye.
Councilmember Houston?
Aye.
Councilmember Freimark?
Aye.
With that, the ayes have it. We'll move into action item E, authorize selection of KR Homes for the wastewater treatment plant, office expansion, the shop, and the public works shop expansion.
Motion to approve?
Is there any comment?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all good. We're in this together. Any comment from the public? With that, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Melissa?
As I said, from the walkthrough, they have some needed areas that they need some improvement. And so I fully support this improvement to
Well,
their
it
space.
sounds like they need a lunchroom, so I agree with the improvements.
Any other comment?
No.
This,
Mr. Burke?
Is this in the budget?
Yes, this
It
was
was
in
in the
our
budget?
small tool, or not small tools, our small projects, capital funds, yep.
Okay, so, okay, they're a lot bigger.
it seems like it was kind of thrown on us. This is the first time I've heard about it,
I
so.
know, that's why I was asking that question.
Yeah, so this same question was asked of me. I saw it in the newspaper last December.
Yes.
And so that's where I went digging through this, making sure that it was something that the employees there wanted. And it wasn't something that we were throwing on, and making sure it was a budgeted item. So,
And just so you know, that is something that I clarified when we went through our tour. I was like, oh, is this what was in the newspaper? Because I had heard about it first from the newspaper and people that had brought it to my attention. And so they were like, yes, this was something that was budgeted and planned for, that we approved in the budget and just didn't realize that
I know,
that was what it
that's-
was planned for. And so, getting clarity on what they were actually needing was eye-opening to see how much that the need was there. So that's why I'm approving it, because to see how much they get awards for what little they have down there that they're working with, I fully support what they are needing.
I don't see that we don't support it. I just wish that the city would make it known to us on projects like this.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean.
But I don't think it's their fault, and so that's why, because it's already in the budget.
And they only use half the amount of money they were budgeted for too, so.
So, a process improvement, I consider it a process improvement. I've kind of streamlined this within city council or city hall, is that all of the public notices, all of the items here on the agenda are streamlined through Amanda, and before it goes to public notice, I get aware of that so that I can make people aware. Because again, I don't want to hear from the community that says, hey, what is this? And me look and go, I don't know what you're talking about. So, fully agree and understand what you're all
I
saying.
agree.
Yep. No argument.
Okay.
Any other comment on that? Amanda?
Councilmember Burke?
Aye.
Councilmember Freimark?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy?
Aye.
Councilmember Houston?
Aye.
Councilmember Hall?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving to action item F for the Rainy Collector Well Lateral Cleaning Contract Award to Lane Christensen.
I make a motion to approve?
Do we have any comments from the audience first? With that, do I have a motion?
Yes, yes, you do.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It needs to be done. It's maintenance that has to be done. Got to be clean so we can keep getting our water. So that's, I agree.
Okay. Melissa?
I concur.
Any other comment? I would just throw out there, so I talked to the individuals working. I also talked to our consultant, Ryan, about this project. And one of the reasons we're moving it here now is because the timing, they had a cancellation on a previous project, and February, this time frame is the best when water usage is the lowest by our residents. And so the timing fits perfect in here. So that's the reason you all of a sudden saw it, the change on this agenda from 1 week ago to this week. Okay? Any other comment and discussion on this?
These are pretty standard cleaning things that get done.
Amanda?
Got to be done.
Councilmember Houston,
Aye, aye.
Councilmember Hall,
Aye.
Councilmember Burke,
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Frymark,
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
With that, the ayes have it. It is now 8:35 PM, and we will jump into
Workshop.
workshop. Okay? Let's keep going. Okay.
You gotta go back.
The first workshop item is the garbage and recycling rate increase. Any comment or questions about that? I guess what I would throw out, and I want people aware of, this is a pass-through, roughly 70 cents on the garbage that is coming through. I have had an email come through from Waste Connections where we are under contract with them, and they would like to see if we could maybe renegotiate it. This here is part of their contract, though, this 4.9% increase. So this is not outside of the contract.
Well, with the cost of fuel and employees and everything else, I mean, it's got to go up just like everything else that's gone up.
Well, we did raise it for few already, just a year ago or so.
It's an annual increase.
Right.
Yeah, but fuel's gone down quite a bit.
Question.
But anyway,
Mr. Smith?
So this is put directly on our city bill. Like you said, it's a pass-through. And if we sent out the bills and we just had Waste Management bill everybody directly, it would cost more for the city residents. So it is actually more cost-effective for us to bill it. And this is what goes along this. Unfortunately, we have to approve things that are an increase. But if we passed it back to Waste Management, they would increase it without us approving it. So either way, it's going up, but at least it's a little bit cheaper by having the city process.
Correct. And there's, by having it be a pass-through, there's no additional cost to mine all for doing that pass-through billing. This is not impacting that at all.
Right.
So, any questions, comments on garbage recycling increase? It'll be on our February agenda for our first reading. It would ultimately go on to bills in April. We will post it in the Reflector and online. Okay?
One more question.
Yep, go
Do we
ahead.
know what it was for percentage increase last year off the top of our head?
It didn't increase last year because it's
So-
every 2 years.
So do we know what it was 2 years ago?
2022, I do not know on the top of my
Okay.
head.
So I know cost of living was 7-8%. So this is a little higher than cost of living this year. I think we're right around 4% or maybe 3.9, something like that. So it's a little higher than cost of living, but I think we were significantly below cost of living last contract we voted on.
So it passed March 7th of 2022. If you give me a second, I can pull it up and see what it was.
maybe I look at things wrong, but I look at every time we raise something, they gotta come up with the money, and then we get homeless because they can't come up with the money.
But if it's been 2 years,
Yeah, it's
that's
in the
not that
contract.
bad.
I'm not talking just this. It's other things that keep
Everything.
going up.
It's
Yeah, we
everything,
keep,
JJ.
everything, water goes up, sewer goes up, people can't afford it.
All right.
100% agree.
You know,
Agree.
Yeah, I mean, we used to have Fredericks here, and he used to say, you know, it's only a cup of coffee.
So,
You do it 20 times a year or a few months, it's 20 cups of coffee.
Somebody has to pay for it
Yeah.
Right.
at the end of the day, no matter what.
so the garbage increased to, in 2022, 4.77%, which was 65 cents per month for garbage. And then it was 24 cents for recycling. So for a total of 89 cents increase in 2022.
So the raises are significantly below cost of living at the end of the day also.
Okay, any other comments on this workshop item? We'll see it on the next one. Okay, let's move into missing middle housing grant application workshop. Mr. Goddard?
Good evening. It seems like I've been talking about housing issues since I got here, and so I apologize for that. But the issue before you tonight is we have the opportunity to get a $50,000 grant for a public outreach and engagement process for Housing Bill 1110. And 1110 does not apply to the city of Woodland in that we are under the minimum size to require this compliance with this code section. However, there are other RCWs and the Growth Management Act which do require us to plan for housing. And we are engaged in that comprehensive planning process that will start up pretty soon and will go through June of next year, June of 2025. And at some point, the city of Woodland is going to have to make some adoptions for housing changes to our zoning code. And the reason why we applied for this grant was the idea that if we are going to have to go through that housing discussion, that we should engage a professional consultant to help guide that conversation and to explore what housing the city wants to explore. And since we can do that as part of our comprehensive plan process, it just enriches that public engagement process. But at the same time, it would require us to meet the requirements of this housing bill if we take the money to do that process. So it's a potentially damned if you do, damned if you don't, depending on whether you agree with the bill or not.
We can pick and choose what we don't, in order to get the money, we can pick some of the items and not take all of it. Is that correct?
Theoretically, yes, but ultimately, the state Department of Commerce would get to determine whether or not we've done enough to get into compliance with the Growth Management Act. But they are going to be making that decision anyways in June of 2025. So we face that hurdle whether we take their money or not.
I don't have a problem with duplexes being on the corner at all, but I'm not real hep on having little houses in every backyard.
I agree. I feel sad. feel
And I
the
don't
same way.
remember some of the other things that,
So in this case, what they're talking about specifically in this one is duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, sixplexes, townhomes, stacked flats, courtyard apartments, cottage housing, and stacked or clustered homes.
And are you saying they want you to have all of that within your city?
That's only if you're within a major transit.
No, it doesn't say that you have to have all of them. The thing that's unclear at this point, and that is, if you opt in and take this money, how much of that do you have to agree with? And that is an answer that I don't know off the top of my head, because accepting the money, we're not sure exactly what that commits us to do. We discussed this previously as Councilmember Rounds pointed out, and we had talked about accessory dwelling units, making those regulations a little more logical. We talked about increasing short plats from 4 lots to 9 lots. We had talked about duplexes on corner lots so that there's one driveway off of each road. So when you drive by, it looks like a single-family residence, and you might never notice if you don't turn the corner. And so there's lots of ways that we had talked about before, but we didn't end up adopting those because the council felt that there hadn't been adequate engagement of the community to find out whether it reflected what the community wanted.
So are you still going to do outreach with the community or no?
Well, so that is not currently on our work plan, and it's going to be a conversation that we have as part of the comprehensive plan, but whether or not those exact ordinance, that language that was prepared, whether it comes forward for adoption, I think that'll be, I haven't gotten direction on that, and Todd and I haven't, Mayor Deinhardt and I, see, that's why you can't tell us to call you Todd.
It's okay to call me Todd. I tell everyone, I am Todd. I got elected as Todd. I am still Todd. We're in this together, everyone.
So we haven't had that conversation yet, and what he wants me to work on, right now he is way too busy to talk about how way busy I am.
So when do you have to say yay or nay to this money?
Well, the money is $50,000, and I think they want 25 spent by June of this year and 25 spent by June of next year. If I remember correctly, so it gives us some time.
Is there a way to get clarification on their expectations?
So we proposed a schedule, and it is in the packet, and we are kind of behind schedule already. And so I think we could modify that, but it's just a matter of finding a consultant, getting them to do a bunch of work before June, and then so they'll probably end up doing a lot of the analysis between now and June, which will spend easily half of the money, and then having the conversation with the community about what the data shows is the whole lion's share of what we would want to do with this money, and we'd have that for next year. And part of that is we don't want to rush out and have a bunch of public meetings and have nothing to say. Gathering input without any kind of data to talk about is kind of a waste of time, so.
I recommended this workshop when him and Travis and I talked. Just as I go through it, there just seemed like a lot of contingencies, a lot of, you know.
Do we have a major transit stop in town? Did they consider anything a major transit stop?
We do not.
Okay, so it really wouldn't affect us a lot.
A lot of it does not.
Just, yeah, and we already allowed duplexes on corner lots.
We potentially could.
I'm all for duplexes on lots, on a corner lot. Not crazy about any higher density of that, though. And I'm really leery because I'm reading the application where it says that this application, it says, we agree to adopt an updated comprehensive plan with the vision and goals of the community, and that will reflect the city's values while meeting the requirements of the grant and the Growth Management Act. That to me means that we're going to do what they want us to do if we take their money. And without a better definition of what that is, I'm very hesitant to approve that.
I think that's why it hasn't passed at this point,
Right.
because
Yeah.
we're very hesitant with
I agree.
what's expected.
Money.
Yeah.
Are we going to be required to meet the Growth Management Act if they change this on that end?
So there are already housing regulations that have gone into effect that we have not complied with. And it hasn't necessarily come to the point where we're not in compliance with the Growth Management Act, because our current comprehensive plan says we will. But at some point, the Department of Commerce is going to be asking us serious questions about how can you ask for money to fix traffic when you are creating a situation where you've added, 1,000 jobs and no homes. So therefore, you are creating a situation where everybody has to drive to work, and that is a conscious decision by the city to increase traffic and not solve its own problem. So we are not going to give you money as a reward for bad planning. That is entirely a realistic possibility. And I pick on traffic. Could be water improvements. It could be sewer capital projects. It could be school capital projects. If we are not building housing, why would the state need to give us money for our school district?
On the change we just made on that property off the Lewis River Highway for the one that was supposed to be apartments and reducing the lot size, does that fall in compliance with kind of what we're talking about?
If the development is theoretically in the missing middle housing range, and we're talking between 6 and 12 units per acre, if I remember correctly. So if you look at Quail Homes, they're not going to be anywhere near 6 units per acre. But the apartment complex is also not if they go to single family housing, they are under no obligation to go to middle missing housing density. They could do high density, and those could be $40 million homes, in which case it does nothing for the affordable housing market.
But right now they're saying it's going to be 90 plus homes, smaller homes.
In the neighborhood, yes, and the code change they asked for leads me to believe that they're looking at not $1 million homes, but I think they said their price point was $440,000 in that neighborhood, and the code changes they asked for puts them in that range. The entire question of whether or not $440,000 is an affordable housing entry point, whole nother question.
That's debatable.
Yes.
But that's what I'm asking. I guess it seems like we made that change and we're kind of going that direction because, well, we had our hands forced in that one. But it seems like we're getting pushed that way.
It's only $50,000. I mean, it's not really worth it.
Yeah.
It seems like it's worth it for all the restriction.
Yeah, and we're not, here at the workshop, we're not making a decision, yea
Yeah.
or nay.
Yeah.
It's more of a, hey, what direction, what do we need further so that next council meeting, we can come back with a kind of a vote.
Yeah. And I'm not for or against it right now. I'm just trying to work through, like, we're already doing some of this stuff. Do we give up the $50,000 even though we're already doing some of this stuff right now? And
Just depends on what they require.
yeah. And I guess when we reach that point of they change it fully at the GMA, we're going to be pushed to do it anyways. Which, I mean, $50,000 is a drop in the bucket, really.
Really.
So, I mean, I'm just trying to go through brainstorm everything as far as whether it's worth it or not.
I guess my concern is us taking it, spending it, us not doing enough, and then us having to pay back $50,000 on stuff that we're already doing.
Keep it.
I'd rather us just move forward with how we want to direct our city anyways, and then if we have to do more, that 50,000 is not going to do what we need it to do until they tell us otherwise, and we've already spent it and not done what we had to do. I don't know. I guess that's where I lean on this, that I don't think we're going to make the improvements until they tell us, hey, you didn't do enough. This is where you need to make the improvements, and they force our hand. Because I think from what we've done before in our past, having these meetings about, I think we're stuck on where we feel comfortable for our city moving forward versus where they want us to be. And I don't see us budging enough to meet in compliance the way this is worded.
Good point.
Keep the control.
Well,
Go ahead.
we have a tendency to jump the gun anytime the state thinks that they're wanting to do something, just like with the rents, we should have never gone that way until the state forced us to. They were the ones that were threatening to do that, and then we did it, and then they didn't. So, this could be another case of that.
That's a good point.
Did you have something to say?
I was just gonna say, keep the control here, don't, for $50,000, it's not worth it. Telling us what we have to do or what not to do.
So is it, Terry, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm wondering what the, this House bill, what are the parameters for determining when we're not in compliance? Who makes that decision, and what are the penalties? Is it just the loss of support for future projects?
Well, there are very specific standards for what this applies to. And if you were to recognize that, if you were to recognize that the city was going to adopt code for everything, the duplexes, the triplexes, the courtyard homes, all of that, then there would be no doubt that that's the direction we're going. The question that was relevantly asked, and that is how many, so if there's 8 items, 6 items, 7 on that list, if you adopt 2 of them, is that good enough? Because 2 is better than none. Versus 4, 5, are we going for pure majority, or are we going for the most units? That's where you get into the question of who determines whether we've done enough. And I can't answer that question, and we may not be able to answer it until you adopt something and they say it's not good enough.
Does all the low-income housing that we have here in Woodland come into play with the state?
It
Because
does-
we're one of the higher than Longview, Vancouver,
Yeah, it does not. And this bill is specifically about in a certain density range that those do not fall into, but our single-family residential do not fall in. It's kind of the missing, extra unit or 2 on a lot that we aren't currently seeing. Our code facilitates subdivisions into big homes on tiny lots without the idea of smaller homes on smaller lots or something that used to exist, but the builders no longer build.
So how does this also come into play when we don't have much land left within our city limits anyways, unless we start annexing?
Yes, so ultimately, Cowlitz County can say, because we have not adopted any increased district or increased density, they can say we're not allowed to expand our urban growth boundary. And the county could do that, and also the state could also take that position even if the county agreed we needed additional land.
It does bother me, the wording of this House bill. I find it convoluted, difficult to follow. They have a lot of different parameters, and they have 2 pages of just definitions. Anytime there's too many words, there's bound to be error, and there's bound to be some kind of non-compliance or problems that surface, and that's my concern. So I don't like the bill. I know it comes out of the Department of Commerce, which, that's a troubled division. The leader's gone now over in Spokane, but still, this came down to us during her term there. I'm talking about Lisa Brown. So anything that comes out of that office is subject to some real scrutiny, I think. It looks like a big brother power grab to me. That's what I'm concerned about. So I hate to sign on to a grant and obligate the city when we can't really describe to the citizens what it looks like in Woodland and where it'll be in Woodland. We're you get what I'm saying? We're up in the air. So.
Yep. 100%. I mean, and I share those same concerns with you. This is why recommended, hey, rather than doing a reading and all that, I'm like, let's have a discussion here. It makes me very nervous. It feels like that we're being tied into something, and I'm very cost conscious, and I think $50,000 is great. I don't want people to think that, oh no, just throw the grant away. But again, I don't want us to be on the hook for something that we can't deliver later on, or it puts our city into something that we don't want our city to look like. So, with that, is there anything that you want Travis to come back with before we take a vote at the next meeting? I've enjoyed all our conversations on this, Travis. Okay, with that, it is 8:59. We will now go back leave the workshop and go back into the regular agenda.
Motion to end meeting?
Second.
Aye.
All.
Aye.
Aye.
8:59. Have a great evening, everyone.
Recording
But we should-
control.
Recording
stop.